Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the Salamangreat archetype. As you may know, Salamangreats will be getting a structure deck in February, I think middle of the year, maybe like on the 16th from what I can recall. But we're getting a structure deck for them. It's going to be really good, and it's seen a lot of play in the OCG. So I thought I was going to talk about it before it came out. So let's get right into the video. So I want to start off first with going over the monsters. First we have Salamangreat Valynx, which requires one level 4 or lower Cyberse monster. If this card is link summoned, you can add one Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Salamangreat Valynx once per turn. And if a Salamangreat card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So this card is, well, I'll be going over only really the good cards. There is a few like blunder cards which you're not going to use within the archetype. I just wanted to go over the main ones. This is the link 1 for the archetype, and it's pretty good. The protection is surprisingly better than you may think, especially since they have an infinity barrier that requires to have a Salamangreat on field. So having the protection for that, so you can use the barrier more when you want to, it just makes it good. And also adding Sanctuary. Sanctuary pretty much lets you summon a Salamangreat monster, Salamangreat Link, by using one of its same thing, which a lot of the cards have extra effect if they are summoned with its card of the same name. It's a little bit hard to explain, but just using the same thing as material for it again, and you get an additional effect. That's kind of how this archetype works. It's the best way to really summarize it. So also just adding the Sanctuary, it just lets you do it for free instead of like gathering all the materials to do the summon again. You don't want to hard summon these things, you just use the effect of Sanctuary. Also has other like battle phase effect to gain life points, but we don't really talk about that. Now we have our Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, which requires 2 fire effect monsters. If a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, except during the damage step, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand, but for the rest of this turn, you cannot normal summon, set, or special summon monsters with that name. If this card is link summoned using Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf as material, you can add one Salamangreat Spell and Trap from your graveyard to your hand, and you can only use each effect of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf once per turn. So this card, you can see, is pretty good. It recycles your spells and traps, which a lot of things will recycle monsters, usually not spells and traps, so it's really looked for in the archetype. You can easily summon this thing again, just Sanctuary summon again. You're all good, you get that effect. So that is a really good effect on it. And also adding back a fire monster is completely generic. We don't need to normal summon, set, or special summon Ash Blossom. We just need to discard it to get rid of those searches. So this deck can add back just on 2 fire effect monsters, which this whole archetype is. You just summon it, and you can add back an Ash if you need to. Usually you'll probably add back an archetype piece, but in the case where you need to add back Ash Blossom, go right ahead. It is available to you, which a lot of decks, of course, don't. So this card easily can be explained really good. Then last is Salamangreat Leo, which is 2+ fire effect monsters. If this card is link summoned, you can target one card your opponent's spell and trap zone, shuffle it into the deck. So kind of like a Cosmic Cyclone a bit, just doesn't banish, shuffles it back. But it's same difference, they can't access it. And once per turn during your main phase, if this card was link summoned using itself as material, you can target one face-up card on the field, you or your opponents, and one monster in your graveyard. The attack of the first target, the target on field, becomes equal to a target in the graveyard. So if you want to crash over anything, I'm pretty sure there's like small attack things in your archetype that'll be in the grave because you used it to link summon. So you just target it in the graveyard, and let's say your opponent's Boral Sword Dragon, you target that too, and that thing is now like 800 attack or something. You can just attack over. It's a Link monster, can't switch your defense, boom, yeah, out your Boral Sword. So this card you don't really go into as much, but it's still a great utility card, being able to shuffle something back. It can bait out stuff, at least, like Widow Anchor. You can target that, and it's like, you have to activate it now, or you're losing it, so, you know, you'd be good in that sense. But that's it for the Link monsters. There's 2 more X-Jack monsters I want to go over, and then we'll get on to the regular monsters in the archetype. So on to the 2 others in the X-Jack. Also to explain, I do have all the cards over to here on the side, so I'm sorry I've not been paying attention to the camera as much. You gotta bear with me today. I don't really have a proper set for it. But let's get on to it. So it's an XYZ monster, which is 2 level 3 monsters to make, so it is generic, which made a lot of use of the OCG since they have Terror Top at 3, so just Terror Top, blah blah blah, top and top board, boom, you can just make this. And the fact is so powerful. You can detach 1 material from this card, special summon 1 Salamangreat monster from your deck in face-up defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate monster effects except for fire monsters, which is generally okay. You still have Ash Blossom. You need to Ash something, you can still Ash it. So, you know, good to have. If this XYZ summoned card is sent to graveyard for the Link summon of a Salamangreat monster, you can target 1 monster on the field, return that monster to your hand. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat. What's its name? I can't even read my own stuff. I am blind. Mirage Stalio. Once per turn. So this card just really good, being able to, if you are going second, just link it off, and it's a Silcoius, so that's amazing. And it just summons something from the deck. You just overlay 2 things, which the 2 best cards in the deck are level 3s, so this easy make, nice effect. So you're going to use it a lot for the combos. And one that is used kind of by option of the player. You don't play it, but you cannot play it, but if you want to play it, it can be really good at instances. It's a fusion with attack of 280. It is a battle phase monster, pretty much. It doesn't have like disruption effects. And it costs 1 Salamangreat monster and 1 Link monster. This 1 Link monster requirement, you can actually use your opponents because they have a fusion of fire, which is super poly, just without a discard, and it's for Salamangreat. So this thing, you can use your opponent's Link monster and 1 Salamangreat monster in your hand. Boom, you have this broken fusion. So if this card is fusion summoned, you can have this card gain attack equal to half the original attack of the material used of this card this turn. So if you use a Boral Sword, and I guess a high attack monster, maybe it's like 1,000, you'll gain 500 off your Salamangreat, that's 1,000, so 500, and then 15. So this thing will get 2,000, making it 4,800, which is really big. And once per turn, during damage calculation, if this card battles a monster whose original attack is different from its current attack, you can make this card's attack doubled. There is a little bit of synergy with this in the archetype. I will go over it after I finish it. Actually, the rest of that doesn't really matter. It kind of sucks. You're not going to use a fusion on a fusion. It's not happening. But this effect does synergize with the deck because one of the good level 3s is Spinny, which has an effect to discard itself, make something gain 500 attack. You or your opponent. So you can get your opponent's monster to have that changed attack and then double your thing. OTK. So yeah. This card is good in that purpose. It does have an OTK factor to it. Because let's say you sucked up a Borreload, you sucked up one of yours, which is 1,000, summon that thing, and then you get to like Spinny Pitch, you're doubling it and just crashing in. So this card is really good when it does come out and you actually make it, but sometimes you don't need to make it, and it's not necessary for the deck. But that's the last of the extract. Let's get to the monsters in the main deck. So on to our monsters. The best one in this archetype is Salamangreat Gazelle, which is a level 3 monster with the effect. If a Salamangreat monster on the is sent to the graveyard, except itself, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Salamangreat card from your deck to a graveyard except itself. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat Gazelle once per turn. So, this effect is really good. So, it has a free summon clause. If it's in hand, you can summon it if you link off something, pretty much. That's how you're going to get something sent to graveyard. If something is destroyed, though, you can actually activate during your opponent's turn. It is an okay way to chump block, but if they're not going to OTK you, you're probably going to want this in your hand as a combo piece for next turn. And also, just having to dump, there is things that just say free special when it's in graveyard. There's the rest of the 3 I'm going to say have graveyard effects, so having this dump is amazing. And then you'll be able to link this off, and you can add this thing back. It's a really good card. And I don't want this video to be forever, so let's get on to the next one. If you control a Salamangreat card, this is Spinny, you can discard this card and target one face-up monster on the field. It gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. If you control a Salamangreat monster other than Spinny, you can special summon this card from the graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Salamangreat Spinny once per turn. So, this says, oh, if you dump me, and say, alright, we're going normal Spinny, link it off for Failings, Search, Gazelle in hand effects, but this is kind of a more nutty hand, Summon itself, effects, and one of the other 2 I haven't read yet, Spinny effect, Summon itself, make Mirage Stallion or something like that. I don't really know the combos too much, but I know the end board's enough to kind of talk about the archetype. This card, really good, just lets you summon itself. The banish kind of stinks because a lot of the cards lack the, you can't do this effect anymore. Like, you would have to get another copy. This one does say, you're going to have to get another copy to use this effect again. Which, this deck is such a grind deck that I wish it didn't have this effect. But it would be kind of broken, I'll admit. But on to our next card. Jaguar. If this card attacks it inflicts piercing, who cares about that? If you control Salamangreat Link monster while this card is in the graveyard, except Jaguar, shuffle it into the deck. And if you do, special summon this card to whose own Salamangreat Link monster points to. And you can only use this effect of Salamangreat Jaguar once per turn. So pretty much it Silcoises kind of like one of your monsters and then summons itself. It kind of does feel like Silcois. Bring back your extender if you have Jackalope on field. Bounce it back to your hand, summon that thing. And so let's say in the Mirage Stallion scenario, you summon out Gazelle. And then you bounce it back to your hand because you dumped Jaguar. And you summon that thing and do some link plays. I don't know. But that's something you can do. You can see why this effect is good. Just put one of your combo pieces right back into your hand. If you do have the effect of Jaguar to summon itself out of hand again, that's also a good scenario. If you just normal summoned it for something, I don't know why, but in that case you can add it back and be able to summon it again. Because even if you use a dump, you can still use the summon effect. People do forget this sometimes, but you know. And our last card, which is Falco. If this card is sent to a graveyard, you can target one Salamangreat spell and trap in your graveyard. Set that target to the field. So you can just set a trap and have a disrupt. You know, this is okay dump if you Foolish Barrel Goods. I haven't seen people play it. You just use other ways, but you get what I'm saying. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Salamangreat monster control, except Falco, turn that monster to hand, and if you do, special. Okay, I messed up the effect. The third one says shuffle it into the deck. This one says bounce it back to hand and summon this. Mess up the effects, my bad. I just have awful reading skills. But on Falco, you can only use one effect per turn, and only once that turn. So, yeah, this one bounces the combo piece back to hand. Jack Jaguar is more a recycler because, let's say, you're going reincarnation summon, so you just used 2 of, like, your broken Link monster. You want to shuffle one back, just have the free summon, so, you know. That's how both of them would work. Just summon themselves, they recycle stuff for you, which is one of the big things about the deck is recycling. You're going to go on a grind game against your opponent. It isn't like you win in the first turn. It's you're going to grind the game out. And since you can get that combo piece back into your hand over and over, you're going to keep on doing the combo over and over. Your opponent can't stand it. But that's it for the monsters. Let's get into the few spells and traps that you have. So now on to the spells and traps. First, we only really have one amazing spell, which it's a soul charge pretty much, so take it how you will. During your main phase, when you activate this card, you can special summon one Salamangreat monster from your hand or graveyard, so, you know, monster important for Salamangreats. I can't say that's bad. But here's the nutty effect. You can send this card face up from field to graveyard and target one Salamangreat Link monster that did the reincarnation summon where he summoned, you know what I'm talking about. And then special summon Salamangreat monsters from your hand or graveyard up to the number of Link points the monster points to. So if you make the Link 3, you summon it using Sanctuary again, and then use the effect. You can summon 3 Salamangreats from graveyard, so pretty much a soul charge. You can only use one Will of the Salamangreat once per turn. So you can see how this card is nice. I haven't seen it come up too much. It isn't really a combo piece. It's just a after a while into the game, you just drop this and you can go like ham on your opponent. So that's really what this card is for. And it is nutty after the late game. After second turn, this thing will get really annoying. And for our next trap. So I did forget this card, post-production me, coming in to say probably the most important spell in the deck, Salamangreat Circle, which its effect reads, activate one of these effects. 1. Add one Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand, or a second effect which doesn't get used as much, target one Salamangreat Link monster you control that was Link summoned using a monster with the same name as its Link material. During this turn, it is unaffected by other monster effects. I'll activate one Salamangreat Circle per turn. My opinion on this card, well, of course, it's just, it gets you Gazelle, which is the big combo piece. So it's pretty much, hey, do you want a combo piece in hand? There you go. You're playing 6 copies now. So, you know, the card's really good in that aspect. The second effect I don't think is going to be used as much currently. There's no Link monster we really want to protect at all. Most people just end on Wolf, and it's like just there to have the negate up, and it's like it's not a necessary thing to have. If they get a more like possibly a Link 4 that's protect the castle somewhere down the road, I could see this effect being used a bit more if, you know, they open the second copy or they don't need the search. But otherwise, I don't think this is a really good effect. And you can only activate one of them per turn. You can, if you open 2, you can just set one and then search and chain it to stuff. Just have the free bait out. Assuming you open Roar, you can try and trick your opponent as long as you're not playing Twin Twisters. So I think that's a good aspect about the card. But not too much to say. It's just a Rhoda. So, yep. Alright, on to the rest. Activate one of these effects. You can send 2 to graveyard, one Salamangreat monster, hand or field, and then target opponent's monster, well, card on the field and then destroy it. So it's a distraction effect, whatever. It isn't too good, but the second effect, that's where Nuts comes in. Target one Salamangreat monster, kind of like the Will effect, and then destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of link ratings the monster has, and you can only use one Salamand Rage per turn. So you can only use this once, but pretty much target a Heat Leo, 3 points, destroy 3 things without targeting. Pretty broken. And the last card we have is our Infinity Barrier, which I talked about before. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control a Salamangreat Link monster, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it. And if a Salamangreat monster is Link summoned to the field while this card is in the graveyard, you can pretty much set it but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use one of this card per turn. One effect each per turn. My bad. But yeah, it's a 30 barrier. It adds itself back. And also you can dump it, just add it back, set it back. It's like, this card is good. You usually do it in a combo. You get it to your field, and that's like one of the end boards. But now let's talk about just the deck itself. I'm not going to go over the cards, and I'll give you my true opinion on it. So for my final thoughts on Salamangreats, are they a good pickup? Will they be as good as they have been shown in the OCG? I'll give all my thoughts out now. Are they a good pickup? Yes, they are. They're coming in a structure deck, so pretty much you grab 3 and you pretty much have everything. There's only 2 things you need to pick up, which would be Sunlight Wolf, which is it isn't confirmed when I'm recording this what rarity it will be in Savage Strike. It is in Savage Strike, you can look it up. That'll be the price if I edit this like after it's shown. It'll be like down here. And then Lady Debuggers, which are like $5 currently as I'm recording before the structure deck does come out. It may hike up at some point, I don't know, but currently it's like $5. So $30 for the structure decks. You get Ash Blossom in it, so it's already worth it. $15 for Lady Debuggers. And whatever extra amount for Sunlight Wolves, if they're a high rarity. If it's a lower rarity than like Super, it should only be like $1 a piece at most. It is a possibility for Ultra Secret, but I don't really expect that. So it's going to be really cheap to pick it up, and you'll practically have a playable deck for the format. Is it as good as it is in the OCG? I don't think so, because they have Terratop the 3, and you saw how they have a generic XYZ that summons one out from deck, gets you 2 Salamangreat monsters on board before you even use your combo starter. So, like, that's really good. Just Terratop, you never use your normal, and you already have Mirage Stalio, other monster, you link it off. You have Wolf. You haven't even touched your like hand yet besides the Terratop. You have 4 like possible combo pieces. So you can see how it's more ridiculous than OCG. Also, they have way less of the decks we do have here. They've had hits to Sky Strikers, they've had hits to Altergeist. I'm pretty sure those decks are quite dead over there. While over here, we have both those decks, and they're control decks kind of like this one, kind of grind games decks, and this one is just the weakest of the bunch, so I don't see it doing as well. It is kind of overrated from my feeling. A lot of people say it'll be doing better than it really is. I think it's like the deck that gets like 1 or 2 tops at every big event. That's it. Nothing like really serious competing with Altergeist or Sky Strikers or Thunder Dragons. It's just a little thing like, you know, Dinos, Paleos. Maybe it's a little better than that, but it's good. Not as amazing as it's made out to be. Good pickup. It really is. Is it as good as people may think? Not really. I've seen the combos. Like, the best board I've seen is Infinity Barrier, Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which has an effect. Pretty much says if your opponent activates monster effect, you can make it so each player draws a card. So kind of is a negate. Baguska and Sunlight Wolf, which for a lot of decks it could shut it down. Like that's two, like a monster negate, a negate of anything, and a skill drain on board. And after that, you'll have the combo pieces in hand, so you can OTK to turn after. But like I think that's kind of a joke with the deck I'm playing. If you play a big combo deck that doesn't like really get affected by skill drain, like Dangers don't think this is anything. Sky Strikers, I don't feel like this is anything. They can probably bait out your Verity Barrier. They're not going to need to use their monster effects. Altergeist, they just have negate protection if they already have Protocol up, so take that how you will. And Thunder Dragons does shut down a good bit of the deck from the... Does Thunder Dragons shut down this deck? Well, Thunder Dragons still are a big problem for this deck since they don't have that many like shutdowns for Thunder Dragons, so they're already a barrier to go over. But like combo decks like Rank-Up-YGO, if you drop the skill drain, you could win. But I feel we have a lot of decks in the format who won't be affected by your boards. So it's not that good of a deck over here. But like if we get a ban list, we are eligible for a ban list in like 2 days. Honestly, it's not going to be till later though. Maybe that will hit the rest of the decks enough that this deck will come into the format and do like some amazing stuff. But otherwise, I don't think so. But that's just my opinions on it. On to the final message. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys liked. Hope you guys enjoyed. And check out my Twitter. I'll have all the updates for everything on there. Check out some of my other videos. You may enjoy them. I have a lot of discussions out at this point. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you liked, hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.